All right, so for discounts, we have quite a few different dashboards that we can take a look at in the system today. The first area I'm going to start is within our sales module. We are going to be going through our fake retailer account in the system, but if you want, you can feel free to log in on your end and follow along. I'll try to take pauses along the way so it gives you enough time to kind of get to where I'm going. So within the sales module over here on the left side panel, we have quite a few different dashboards to take a look at. The ones that we're going to be focusing on are called discount overview and discount details right now. We'll also be taking a look at impact analysis too. So at the very bottom of the screen, you can scroll down or you can click into discount overview here. Discount overview and details are going to be at the bottom. I do already have this tab pulled up, so we're going to be jumping into discount overview. With discount overview, this dashboard is really to help you understand your discounting performance. So we'll use this to review total discounts over time, discounts by category or brand, and the discount impacts on profit. So we have quite a few filters to go through at the very top to help you understand what you're really looking at and to pull in criteria that really matters to you. For today, we're going to be going over an example of looking at what happened last 4/20 in preparation for this year's 4/20. So of course, that's a big holiday in our industry, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for that. So we're going to be taking a look at our fake retailers' performance last 4/20, the week prior and the week during. The week prior mainly to get sort of like a benchmarking or controlled variable to compare against for the actual date of 4/20. When we're looking at discount overview, this is kind of a post-mortem analysis. That's kind of what we use it for, to be able to determine how our discounts did, if they actually brought in revenue, if they brought in profit, or if we lost profit because of our discounting strategy. So that's just a little bit of an overview about this particular dashboard. With the store name, you can select a specific store at your dispensary, or you can look at all of them. For this example today, I'm going to choose Belltown here. The date range, so you'll notice that I have 4/12/2021 to 4/27/2021. I chose the is in the range operator here, and then I just chose the inclusive dates of 4/12 to 4/27. So that's going to be the week prior to 4/20 as well as the week of 4/20. So we can look at those controlled variables that I talked about earlier. Because this is kind of a 2-week time frame, I want to break it down by day, but if you were doing like a quarterly analysis, for example, you could break it up by week or month. And if you're doing a yearly analysis, maybe you could break it up by quarter. Really up to you and how you want to analyze this data. I also want to categorize, or I want to slice the data by category, but you have a lot of different options here. You can look at brand, vendor, package size, or product name. So you have lots of different ways to slice and dice the data here. I am using my category filter. If you have attended other sessions, such as the inventory management, you'll hear me talk a lot about the category filter. I really like this one because you can filter out any non-cannabis related items that might be skewing your data a little bit. So I filtered that out using my is not operator, but you could also do doesn't contains or contains if you want to look at a specific category. Maybe you did a specific discount towards vapor pens, for example. We could take a look at the vapor pen category specifically and analyze the discounts applied to that. Same concept with brand, vendor, unit, as well as product. If there's a specific product you did a discount on, we can look at that too. So for now, once you bring in all of your criteria, if you are following along, you can go ahead and click this purple refresh. It's going to be a purple reload button over here on the right, and it will pull in all of that criteria and then spit it out in the graphs below. All right, so now that we have our criteria here, we can take a look at first the discount summary. So what the discount summary is really telling us, the first data point is going to be the percent discount. So this is a percent of discounted sales within our time frame here, so within these 2 weeks. Total discounts in that time frame, total discounted amount, as well as total revenue within those 2 weeks. So what was brought in within that 2 weeks. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, these two graphs are really the meat and potatoes of this dashboard. It will give you kind of an overview of what happened within those 2 weeks in terms of discounts and what did that mean in terms of revenue as well as profits. So over here on the left, we have average percent discount and unit volume. So this graph will display the amount of discount that was given. So the average discount per day. If we take a look at what this graph is showing us, we have our days within the 2 weeks. The dark blue bar is going to be the total units each day that were sold, not necessarily the units that were discounted, but total units sold that day. And then the percentage of discount lines. So if you hover over each day, you'll see the average percentage of discounts applied over that day. So we can see an obvious outlier here. If we take a look at this huge bar, it says total units sold was about 1,600 or just over. And the discount applied was on average about 28%. Now, if we look at this compared to the previous couple of days, we see that units really spiked, more than doubled, and then the percentage went up as well. So interesting thing to look at there. And we can tell that our date says 4/21, so maybe in our fake discount or fake retailer that we're looking at, our huge discount day for that week was 4/21. But you can see that the discounts, whatever strategy we're using, it brought in a lot more units than the previous week. Now, if we look over here, we can say, okay, great, we sold a lot more units, but did we actually make any more money? Did it work? This is kind of where you can begin to ask those questions and attempt to do an analysis with this graph over here. So as we look, we can see what this is telling us is what we brought in terms of total revenue, and then what the amount was that we gave away because of the percentage of discounts that we did, or the average discount that was applied that day. So if we look here, we can see the light blue bar is the total revenue, and then the dark blue is the total discounts. The light green is going to be that discounted amount during that day, so the average discounted amount. Now what we can look at, so the 4/21, I believe, was a Wednesday. And let's just say that was our discounted day. Total revenue was about 1,900. Total discounts was almost 7,500. So what that means is that at 28% discount, that's how much we gave away, but we brought home quite a bit more than we usually would have, let's just say compared to the week prior on 4/14. So if we look at this light blue bar, we brought home quite an incremental amount compared to the Wednesday prior. Now, this is going back to that controlled variable that I was mentioning before. We want to have something controlled to compare the discount day to. Hopefully this all is making sense. This is, again, just the beginning of the assessment for your discounts. This is where you can start to ask those questions. Did my discount really work during this week or on the specific day? All right, and the name of the game here is to really make sure that the light blue bar is bigger than the dark blue bar. That's kind of the simplest way I can explain it, but that is just something to definitely keep in mind. It looks like this fake retailer, whatever they did on 4/21, it was working for them, and they definitely brought home more revenue than they discounted, especially more revenue than they would have within the previous days or weeks. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions. If there are, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm going to just take a real quick sip of water here while I wait for those to come in. Alrighty, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I'm going to continue on here. So as we scroll down the discount overview page, if you are a more visual person, this is going to give you a lot more visualization into what pricing and discounting looks like for this specific date range. So again, a lot of the same type of information that has been displayed up here, but we can break it down a little bit differently. So what does that look like in terms of your categories, what your average item price was during these 2 weeks, what that meant in total units, as well as percentage of discounts. So that is one way to kind of slice and dice. If you want to look at by category specifically, you can do it there. Scrolling down here, unit volume by discount bucket. So the discount buckets, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth in a minute, but these are basically just percentage of buckets for discounts. So 0 to 10%, 10 to 20%, so on. So where was the largest percentage of discount bucket within each of your categories? So if we notice here, tincture and sublingual, the largest discount bucket applied to that specific category was 30 to 40%. In contrast, concentrates was about 20 to 30%. So that was the most frequently applied discount bucket for that specific category. And then scrolling down, you have just a little bit of raw data dump here. You can export this with the tile actions at the top right, download data. You can slice and dice that many different ways as well. So that is the discount overview. Again, a good place to go if you're just starting to do kind of a post-mortem assessment on your discounting strategy. If you do have specific weeks or a specific day in mind, you can head here to attempt to start that assessment and start asking those questions like, did my discounting strategy work on that day? Or did it bring home some more revenue than you expected or from the previous week or day? Okay, the next dashboard I'm going to head to is discount details. So if you are following along, you can head to discount details under sales. That's going to be right under the discount overview tab. Now with the discount details, this really allows you to explore discounts given at your stores, and we can review the data in 2 different ways, either by discount name or discount bucket. So like I was talking about earlier, discount bucket is that 0 to 10%, 10 to 20%, etc. Those types of buckets. So we're just categorizing whatever information is coming through your point of sale. The discounts that we see, we're going to categorize them into those different discount buckets as one way of analyzing this. The other strategy you could do or use is the discount name. So if at your store you are using specific discount names, like pre-roll Fridays, for example, if that's a common discount name that you're always entering into your point of sale system, and you are pretty good about entering that information into your point of sale, then you could use discount names to analyze those specific discounts. For today, we're just going to look at discount bucket because I know not every one of our customers is using that discount name effectively. So sometimes it can be harder to analyze. So we're going to be using discount bucket. If you are using the discount name or want to do that in the future, you can select discount name and then make sure that you use this yes option for has discount name, because otherwise you're not going to be able to find any of your discount names in this dropdown. All right, so with this, again, we have our store name selected, summarizing by discount bucket. For this specifically, I wanted to just focus on our discount day of 4/21 to see what our most used discount bucket was for that day. I'm also going to look at it by day because we're looking at only one day, but if you were looking at, again, maybe on a quarterly basis, you could break it out by week or month. Okay, so scrolling down here, we have our top level discount information, total transactions on this day, as well as what did that mean in terms of total discounted amount. So we can see that high level information. This does respect the date range as well. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at this. The transaction chart, so this is going to show you percentage of transactions within these discounted buckets. So for example, we see 30 to 40% and 40 to 50% are actually even with about 44 or 45% of total transactions done at this discounted amount. So as we scroll down, we can explore a little bit deeper. So maybe we want to see, what did this mean in terms of total discounted amount? I see that our transaction percent of total transactions are about the same percentage, but did they bring in the same amount of money? Or were they equal to the same discounted amount, I should say. So here, focusing on that 30 to 50% range, we can see that total transactions for 30 to 40 was 156. That meant that the total discounted amount was about 2,500. Same thing with 40 to 50%, 156 total transactions, but total discount amount was almost 4,000. So that's quite a large difference between the money we gave away with the 30 to 40% versus the 40 to 50%. So questions you could start to ask yourself would be, could we get away with doing a little bit less of a discount, but still bringing in the same amount or more profit because you're not giving away as much discounted amount? Hopefully that makes sense. We're not here to be your data analyst, but we can definitely give you ideas on questions to start asking yourself when looking at this type of data. Now, if we scroll down here, we have transaction amount. Again, same information, just displayed a little bit differently. So I'm not going to focus too much on this, but it will give you an idea of that day and what it means in terms of discounted bucket. And then at the bottom of every dashboard, which you'll find pretty common, is this raw data dump, which you can, again, export. Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat just yet, but if you have any on this discount overview or details, please let me know, because next we're going to be jumping into impact analysis. And if you are thinking, okay, I really like all this discounting information, I want to know more about holiday sales and maybe a little bit of planning for the next upcoming major holiday, we do have something called demand planning in our premium offering, which does give you more in-depth discount analysis as well as a holiday sales bump analysis, which will help you understand how your holidays impact overall customer demand. So that is something that we could go further with and analyze even more about your discounting strategy. And if that's something you are interested in, just throw it in the chat or ping me afterwards. I am happy to introduce you to that as well. Okay, so no questions yet in the chat. I'm going to head over to impact analysis. So that again is going to be found in the sales module down here at the very bottom. Now, what impact analysis can do for you, again, is kind of a post-mortem analysis on your promotions or discounts. If you have a specific promotion in mind, such as, again, we're going to carry on with this 420 vibe here. It's a really good way for you to kind of start that assessment. So let's say you're a general manager at a store, you're tasked with running a post-mortem analysis for a discount, and you're responsible for giving a report on how successful it was. You can answer questions like, did it exceed expectations? Was it successful or not? So again, this is a really good way to start that assessment. Now with impact analysis, we can go ahead and click new impact analysis if you are following along here. It's a really simple form to fill out. You can just add the name of the impact here. So for example, I have one already called 420 Vapor Pen Promo Extravaganza, which is what we're going to look at. But if I was just going through this as an example, you can type the name of the promotion that you're looking to evaluate. Whatever location you want to look at, you can look at all of them, or if it was just at one specific location, go ahead and click that as well. The start and end date. So with my 420 promo, I did choose the I think that just the day of 4/20 last year. So we can go ahead and click on that. And then the end date will be the same date. But if you want to analyze, maybe you ran a promo within 1 week of the, or within 1 week, you could choose the start and end date as that week. Or if you ran a promo the entire month, you could also choose that. Now here you can limit it to specific vendors, brands, categories, or even products. So if you did do a specific promo on a product, go ahead and find that there. Otherwise, I'm just going to look at the specific category of vapor pens. Okay, it's not pulling up here. Let's just choose all locations. All right, so I wanted to make sure I clicked on all of this for you so you could see which, once you type in a category here, you're gonna see different locations. So you wanna make sure that you, if you're doing an analysis on all of your locations, you wanna make sure that you select all of the categories for those locations and not just one of them. So you would wanna go ahead and select all of these. For time purposes, I'm not going to select all of them. Once you're done with this, you can select apply and it will, just for example, it will come up and say pending under the status. So while it's pending, while it's running, I'll give you a little background on how our impact analysis really works. So it's really a forecasting procedure. It's looking at up to 2.5 years of historical sales data, and it's building out a prediction of what would normally happen throughout the time frame under your promotion. So that's how it's kind of giving a predictive analysis on what your actual sales were versus what the predicted sales were. So you'll see once the status says done, you can always refresh the page to get a new status. But once it says done, you'll be able to open it up. Now, because I was prepared and I did this earlier, I did choose vapor pens because I noticed that it did have a large amount of sales during my 4/20 promo. So I wanted to evaluate how that actually did. So as I scroll down here, I can see the sales information. We can also analyze this by units as well as profit. So if I look at the impact analysis here, I see a lot of orange stuff going on. So the orange is going to be what I actually did within the week prior to the week after. The start and end date is going to be that start and end date that I chose. And then you can see here, there's a green diamond. This is what was predicted that I would do. So again, using that 2.5 years of sales, this is the prediction that Headset has given me. So predicted to sell just over 1,000. If I hover over the actual amount that I did just over 2,500. So that's quite a difference between the predicted and the actual. Now, if I look over to the summary, I can see what my projected sales were, what my actual sales were, the dollar difference, and then the percentage difference. So if you are that GM that's doing this analysis, you could pop these numbers into that report that you're running and have that ready to go in terms of sales. Now you can also look at it by units sold as well as the profit. So there's lots of different analytical units that you can grab from this impact analysis. And if I were to be kind of analyzing this report, I would say, you know, I didn't do too bad with my vapor pens on 4/21. Whatever I did with those vapor pens, maybe it was a specific promotion that I did during 4/20. That must have really worked. That must have brought in some more customers, or, you know, just sell more vapor pens. So that is a little bit of what you can do with the impact analysis here. Any questions on that? Feel free to throw them into the chat. Oh, I have a Q&A here. Is a projected sale on average of the 2-year analysis or an overage year to year? I'm not sure that I 100% understand your question, Marty, but it's just looking up at the past about 2.5-year average sales and using that to do the prediction. I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm happy to stay on a few minutes after with you to get that answered maybe a little bit more in depth. Okay. All right, if there are no other questions for the impact analysis, I'm going to jump into benchmarking. So benchmarking is, at a high level, the purpose of these is to really help our retailer users compare their performance to a comparable market. So you can use this dashboard. We're specifically going to be looking at our pricing dashboard today, but there's also a sales growth and assortment dashboard as well. So you can compare any one of those to the market that you're in, or a comparable market if we don't have that market available just yet. So the pricing, you can use this dashboard if you want to see how other retailers are pricing their products in your market or a similar one. And some of the questions we really look to answer with this dashboard are things like, are your pre-rolls highly discounted compared to the market? Or could you be pricing your products at a higher cost and gaining more margin? So that sort of thing is what we're really looking to answer with this. If we go ahead and click on View Dashboard here, we're going to bring up our pricing. Now I already have this filled out with our filters here. So for example, I chose my Colorado market. I'm comparing to Colorado. Again, if you don't see your market in this list, you could choose a comparable one to use. If you don't see it in this list, that means that we just don't have that quite ready for insights available within this benchmarking dashboard. Date range I just chose is in the last 30 days, but you can really do whatever makes the most sense for you. Same with stores. Now our categories, so a little bit of explanation on our categories. So you're going to see your categories or Headsets predicted categories. Some information about Headsets predicted categories. What this is doing is really in order to create our Headset Insights market reads, Headset classifies products into standardized taxonomy. So every cannabis product gets assigned one of the 9 categories. So within your retailer data, that's presented with the categories from your stores coming through your point of sale system. But our predicted categories are the categories that headset robots think that your categories fall into, basically. So depending on your naming conventions you use within your point of sale, this guess may not be 100% accurate, but it could be pretty good to kind of compare apples to apples instead of maybe pears to apples. So sometimes we do suggest if your categories are much different from headsets categories, you could use headset predicted categories. Otherwise, if you wanted to just look at your categories compared to ours, you could do that as well. For today, I'm going to choose headset predicted categories. Now within this pricing dashboard, it is going to be a lot of the same type of information, just visually displayed differently with a couple of different data points. So I'll walk you through kind of how we use this dashboard. Over here on the left is going to be your average item prices. So what my fake retailer average item prices are. What you can do is hover over any one of these dates here and see what your average item price is for any given category. Now over here on the right, we have insights. So that is going to be the market's category average. If we scroll over again, maybe the same date over here on the right, we can see the average item cost for, again, any given category. And we can compare this to what our average item prices are. So for example, let's look at beverages. $11.36 for our Colorado market on average, compared to ours on January 24th, $9.79. So we are a couple of bucks below average price. Now scrolling down here, again, same type of information, just displayed in different types of graphs. So you have your good old box and whiskers chart here. So different price distributions. If you hover over any of these, it's going to give you a lot of details about the minimum, the median, the max, etc. Same thing with sales units and average item price. You can get a good look at what your average units are, as well as what your total revenue has been for those specific categories. And if you hover over again, you get that average item price. So again, same info, just displayed a little bit differently. Down here at the very bottom, so continuing our discounting story, you can see what your average discount by category was compared to the market. So this is one that I really wanted to point out today because we're talking about discounting. So again, let's say I hover over, where are my beverages? So beverages are blue. For January 24th, I had an average of 20.5% discount. Let's see what the market did on that. So beverage again is in blue. The market did about an 8.5% discount on average. So what this tells us is we have a quite higher discount for beverages compared to the markets. So again, something to consider when you're beginning to assess what you're doing compared to what the market is doing or the similar market that you're comparing to. And you can start to ask those questions like, could I get away with a lower discount on my beverages, but still bring in the same amount of revenue and profit? All right, now I know that was a lot of information. And one thing I forgot to mention is I don't believe I showed you where that benchmarking was on the left panel, but there is a whole discount or whole dashboard called benchmarking. So that is where you would go to navigate to that. So apologies for that. All right, now is the time to ask any additional questions. Like I said, that was a lot of information, but I'm going to give you all a chance to unmute. And you can ask any questions that you'd like. One thing I will mention before that is we do have some upcoming headset hangout sessions that will talk about automating reports as well as inventory management. We're going to have new sessions every month. So direct your team to that if you think it would be helpful for them. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and unmute y'all so you can go ahead and actually talk to me like a real human. All right, I will stay on the line for a few more minutes and just shout out your questions if you have them. Hey, Steph, I see that you have something in the chat here. Sales growth and assortment are available. So we just covered pricing today because that kind of followed along our discount journey, but you can take a look at sales growth or assortment within that.
Okay, thanks. It's strange because when I click on him, I get oops, page not found, and I get some other error.
Okay, interesting. So I do know that we've been having a little bit of glitchiness with our Looker dashboards.
Oh yeah, now it works. Sorry, you're right.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty random, but that has been happening to a couple of people today. Okay. So yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody else?
Just because it came up in training yesterday, this isn't going to be impacted by trees integration.
Right, yeah, so the ones that we were talking about today should not be, but if you see anything that looks off, feel free to shoot me an email and we can talk through that. Okay, everyone. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And this has been recorded and I will also upload it. So we will post the video somewhere. I'll let you all know where we posted that so that you can access it later or share it with your team.